Welcome, everybody. Today is a great day for Sideline Sports, and these two gentlemen here don't even know why. And John, this is all personal. This is all coming about. John, I'm starting with you. This has nothing to do with sports in terms of news. This is to do with a little personal league the three of us are in. JB and I are in two fantasy football leagues. But John, I'm going to start with you because, John, you and I played each other this week, and JB, in case you didn't know, in fantasy football, I beat John, who started off 4-0 this season.
Yeah, one of those wins against you.
He has now, it doesn't matter, because you've now dropped to 7-5. I am 8-4, and I have overtaken you in first place. And JB, I say congratulations to you as always, because you are 10-2. You are having a lovely season as well. So JB, first of all, congratulations. We're both in first place. But
thank you.
But what is interesting, JB, because you and I talked about this. No, forget that. JB, there was a moment in time when you and I were talking about the idea of us both being in first place, not only in that league, but in a separate league we have with some people we work with here at Sideline Sports. And I'm sorry to tell you, JB, I am the only one here that is now in first place in both leagues because Matt has actually taken – Yes, he has.
Place in first leagues.
You are tied for first. So Matt,
you're talking about division, but overall,
we were talking about first in both of our divisions. That's what I'm talking about.
Divisions.
You were the one that brought that up. So all I'm saying
first place
is,
overall.
JB, hold on. What I was going to say,
Number
JB,
one.
you and I also have something special that John also doesn't have. I was going to say, you and I in two separate leagues are not only both in the top two, each one of us between two different leagues, we're number one in our respective league in two different leagues. So, JB, good work. We've done pretty well. John,
remember last year?
Hold on.
Remember last year when you were undefeated and I knocked you out of the playoffs?
And John, remember when you started off undefeated and now you're not even in first place in your own division?
That's all right.
So I was going to say, John, how does it feel knowing you lost this week? And I don't want the excuse that Josh Jacobs went for 50.
Josh Jacobs did go for 50.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't, because what happened was I was up by 8 before that long 86-yard touchdown to win the game for the Raiders. I was beating you already. My team in back-to-back weeks has scored 170 plus. John, my team is just better than yours, it seems.
The playoffs haven't started. I mean, remember last year when you thought the same thing and then I knocked you out of the playoffs?
John, I was naive.
You went crying home.
John, I was undefeated. Of course, I would think.
And you weren't after I was done with you.
And John, did you win the championship?
Matter.
Did you win the championship?
I knocked you out of the playoffs.
Did you win the championship? That's all I asked.
So you can talk your
JB,
talk
can I ask you a question? Does history remember the winners
last year, and you won't do it this year?
Does history remember the winners or the losers? Because last time I checked, it's the winners, right? They remember the winners.
Always the winners.
So, John, you may have beat me last year, and I have you muted because I didn't want to hear what you had to say real quick. You beat me last year, but you didn't win, so it didn't mean anything. Neither of us won.
I mean,
and John,
to me personally, this year, personal,
John,
right?
this year, I know for a fact because I have the receipts, and I'm going to use them on you. Because, John, if you don't remember, on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, you sent me a lovely little text that says, "Nice start, eh?"
Yeah.
And you said, "It's a nice start, nevertheless. The heat is on." And you said it was going to be a good matchup, but you said the heat is on. You were talking smack, and I reciprocated by saying, "Look, we'll find out." But John,
just a friendly
you
reminder.
have yet to accept. You have yet to accept that you're in second place and admit that I beat you.
Well, I beat you as well this year. So, I mean,
but
it
John,
doesn't really matter.
I'm in first place. That is what matters in our division. I have a first round bye right now. You don't.
Just like last year, you got knocked out of the playoffs. It's going to happen again. JB even told you.
I'd like to extend a congratulations to you.
JB even told you you're not in first place overall. So,
I don't care about that right now. Because, JB, I'd like to extend a quick congratulations before we move on. Congratulations, because you and I will likely be having first round buys, it seems.
Oh, I think
How nice.
That.
Chicken before the cart.
I'm just saying. JB, congratulations on that. I mean, that's a lovely thing. We have both earned that.
I'll be honest. Looking at the schedule, I don't know if John wins another game this year.
I don't know.
It's possible.
He's got you, and he's got one other game that he could win. He's got Nick, but he's not beating you. So John wins one more game. So all I got to do is win one of my games, I clinch the division. I win one more game. It's
Yeah,
over.
we'll
It's
see.
gonna be very interesting for 4, 5, and 6. That's all I'm saying. It's up
saying.
for grabs. Almost everybody's involved except for Jacob.
Look, Jacob has lost the.
I mean,
He's lost the right to win.
yes.
So let's talk some
Although
real.
he did have a big win. He did have a big win this week. But yeah, let's talk about the most exciting thing that happened today. Let's start with that.
Okay, let's.
So the U.S. playing half a world away in Qatar in a must-win game that I sure hope, since it was in the afternoon and there was no NBA games, some of the NBA people, players, Anthony Davis and company, watched that game as Pulisic gave up his body for that goal.
I'm glad you said his name as best as you can this time. Because before the show, you were just like, screw this. I'm calling whenever I feel like.
Listen, that man gave up his body, and then after the game sent a text from the hospital that he'll be ready to play in the next game. Now,
he's injured, if you didn't know. Like, he's actually legitimately injured.
Yes.
Like, he's considered day-to-day, and he's like, no, I'm playing. I got this. Like, I'm ready.
Now, I don't know. I mean, I don't see any, rest, game management going on there.
No.
These guys came out to play. They didn't win a game before today. They had a couple of really hardcore ties.
Yep.
And
a big one against England,
Wales.
by the way. England was a big one.
Yes, 1-1 against Wales, 0-0 against England, and a big 1-0 win today. They got lucky. I mean, the ball was a couple of feet from the goal towards the end of the game, behind the goalkeeper, but it just didn't get in. They played their asses off. They played their asses off. They're going to get to play Denmark. It's going to be an interesting game because their defense is probably top 3 in the thing. Their offense is horrible. They're not exciting. 4 years from now when the World Cup's in America, hopefully they'll develop some offensive game plan. But right now, got to hope for a low-scoring game and they get to sneak a goal by. John, what do you think about soccer, John?
I mean, I look forward to when this is over. I look forward to when the World Cup is over.
John,
then I don't got to hear about it anymore.
You are just like...
Maybe if USA loses, then I have to hear about it even less because everybody here is pretending like they care about soccer. And then as soon as the USA blows it, like they always do, guess what everybody's going to do? They're going to go back to they're going to stop like pretending that they care about soccer.
John,
going to go back to their normal lives.
Nobody's pretending we care about soccer. We're just saying we support our country and we watch them when they're on. But that's it. That's what everybody does.
Not me.
Well, because you're a weirdo.
Thank you.
You have homework, Judge, here. You are to wake up Saturday or Sunday morning once this whole World Cup thing's over and watch either the Spanish League, La Liga, the French League, Ligue 1, Italian Series A, or the German Bundesliga, where you can watch top-notch soccer. I almost called it Israeli football, but football's in America.
I'd rather watch Jets, Bills, and Patriots highlights than do that.
No. Listen,
You're
I
just
tell
a
you,
sick individual.
Watching any of those games was a lot better than some of the primetime NFL games I've seen this year. That's all I'm going to say.
I'd rather watch Broncos and Panthers than that.
John, you're proving a lot by that, John. Trust me when I tell you, quality soccer is a great game.
I didn't think soccer could be quality.
It is.
Oh, there's a huge
It's
difference.
phenomenal.
Don't watch the MLS. Do not watch the MLS. It's not worth the time. But if you watch, any of the 4 leagues I told you, it's actually good. Watch the Champions League, John. The knockout stage is coming up. It's phenomenal.
I'm not a soccer fan, but I love the U.S. when they're playing, and I will happily watch whenever they're on. That's it. It's as simple as that.
That makes one of us.
John, how do you not want to watch that? How do you not say, I want to root for my country?
It's the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life.
Do you like hockey?
I love hockey. Completely different game.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
No, completely different game. Jake, you know better. The
physicality
I know of hockey where they're checking each other into the boards.
Did I say? Hold on.
John,
I haven't even defended my point. So let me explain why they're so similar.
Don't you dare say the physicality of hockey when you watch soccer games, John. They're pretty physical.
Not even close.
Okay, John.
When you get rammed into the boards,
John, let me explain other similar.
Soccer's not even
Let me explain other similar.
Okay, John.
Very simple. What is the objective of the game? First of all, scoring goals, getting it past a goaltender. It's a bigger ball versus a puck, but a bigger net. So it makes sense. Proportionally, it makes sense. That's number one. You've got forward and defensemen. Positionally, they're similar. The way the actual game's physically played, the way you clear the ball back to your side versus the offensive zone,
I understand
right?
what you're saying,
There's
but
all these similarities. I'm not saying it's the exact same sport, but it's very similar. There's a large overlap, and I'm not saying I like soccer better than hockey. I love hockey. But you can't sit there and tell me it's not a similar sport, and you can't sit there and say, I can understand this and I can get behind this because it's enough like hockey that I like this. And more importantly, it's my country, by the way, which means a lot.
That actually does less for me than you think it does.
Okay, John, obviously you're not as patriotic as I hoped.
I'm not patriotic at all, actually.
Obviously. That is concerning as is. Anyway, speaking of concerning, I wanted to talk about something that happened over the weekend, and I normally don't care. I like to make fun of the Washington Commanders because they're easy to make fun of, but I generally speaking couldn't care less that they exist. To me, that is all they are, just simply existing. But did anybody see what they did this weekend? Did you see what happened? JB, do you know what I'm talking about? John obviously does.
Ugh.
If you didn't see it, JB.
I'm disgusted.
No, I did not.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what happened before I show it and we discuss it. It was a very big deal, and it's very exciting that they unveiled, and they had announced, and then they did unveil a statue for Sean Taylor, which is a huge deal because if you know anything about Sean Taylor, he was not only a phenomenal football player, but just his story. It's a sad story, but his legacy lives on, right? A great player, gone too soon, very unfortunate. But everybody loves and respects him. Or I should say, everybody respects him, especially if you're a Commanders fan, you love him. So, JB, when you think of a statue, there's obviously, I'm sure, images you have in your head. So I want to get your genuine reaction. Are you ready to see what they actually did, what they unveiled this weekend? Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. This is what the Commanders unveiled this weekend. That monstrosity on my screen is what they unveiled and called a statue.
Wow.
There's wires for arms, wires for legs.
I'd also like to point out, I don't know if you can see it. It might be a little hard, but he's wearing a Nike jersey.
Which they did not wear back then. They wore Reebok.
And Reebok pants and Adidas cleats. This just feels, as many people have said on social media, so I'm not claiming this is my own special idea that I came up with, but this is widely discussed and agreed upon. This looks like somebody went to their local Dick's Sporting Goods, picked up a mannequin, picked up a jersey, picked up some pants, socks, a pair of cleats, and a helmet, and said, "Here you go, Commanders, have that."
Listen, it's the Commanders. Do you expect anything different from these fools? I mean, they prove time and time again why they don't belong in the National Football League. This is where soccer rules would be perfect. They'd be relegated to Division II.
They'd be relegated down, exactly.
This is why soccer is a great sport.
They'd be relegated to the CFL.
and after 1 year, they'd be in Division III. And before you know it, no one would ever hear of these idiots.
To be fair, they're 7-5 and they hold a playoff spot, so we really can't relegate them.
But you know what? That doesn't matter.
The Commanders are in the playoffs right now. I mean, I can't knock the players and the actual people in the field.
But you know what you can knock?
Which the people behind closed doors.
But what we're able to complain
the Wizard
about,
of Oz pulling the strings.
What is relevant is Dan Snyder, who is already in hot water as is for so many things, including I believe he's under investigation or was under investigation.
A lot of things. Yeah.
I believe he's being sued by the Attorney General of D.C. He's got a lot of problems right now, but he's already got that. And when I think of a statue, I think of Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. I've seen it in person. He's got this gorgeous bronze statue, this gorgeous statue outside of the Colts Stadium. It is, I don't know how many feet tall, but it's beautiful. It's really awesome. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's great. But that's a statue. This is a wire mannequin that they just put in a piece of glass and said, "Here you go." It looks like it took them 5 minutes, 10 minutes
It's
to put that together.
disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
The only thing I'll give them right is outside of the case on the bottom, the thing holding the glass together is like a bunch of different not articles, but like a bunch of different stuff about him,
pieces
like
of
on the
information.
bottom, on the plaque or whatever,
And
which is the only thing they got right.
And that's all well and good. That's fine.
I mean,
but this was
wrong.
Disgusting.
They did it, but was it last year? I believe it was last year. They put his number like on the sideline, and Jackson Mahomes was dancing on his number. And it's just like, and then I don't know if you guys know the other thing they did. They did a photo op, apparently commemorating him, and the photo op, they took it in front of a bunch of porta potties.
Yep.
So like,
John, and this is not the only time they've done this. They once talked about. I forget what exactly was said, but it was something to the effect of they brought up Brian Robinson's shooting and his injury to mask what was happening with Dan Snyder and his investigation. Yeah, they
use that as
a crutch.
They use that to make people feel bad for the organization.
And it's just look, I don't say this lightly.
Listen, this
is a classless
organization.
Classless. JB, garbage is a great word. This is an organization that they talk about culture and they talk about things being better, and then they just go ahead and do this. And I know nobody believes them. I know nobody thinks like, oh, the culture is improved. Nobody believes that. Okay. We all read right between the lines. We know it's a bunch of garbage. You would have to be like beyond ridiculously gullible, I think is how I'd put it, to believe anything that comes out of any person's mouth in that organization that is not on the field in terms of players or coaches. Outside of them, I don't believe a word anybody says ever. It is just so pathetic and unbelievable. I know the league can't make Snyder sell because of things like this. You can't say, look, oh, well, your statue was not what it's supposed to be.
It's black eye after black eye.
But at what point does the NFL say we have to force him out because he's just ruining what could be a very good franchise in terms of. It used
to be one of the most prestigious franchises in the NFL.
In terms of
forever until he came in.
I mean, remember Joe Gibbs was there? I mean, like, so many great memories of that organization
let's not
tarnished.
But let's not forget, too, I mean, this is such a classy organization. They bought out RG3 so he wouldn't release his book that he wrote with Gary Myers, who was on our show.
I know.
And then he took it back,
They're so classy that they need to, silence people with their money, So it's pretty sad.
Disgusting.
I don't like them.
Oh, look, Eric. I love
that. Oh, Eric. Hey, buddy. I love that. But it's just, look, not much else needs to be said on this. I don't want to talk about this further, but it's one of those things that every time I see something, it bothers me more and more. And this is just, it just really, it frustrated me to no end because it's just like the Brian Robinson cover.
I have a question.
It's just this use of baloney that they do.
How is it in the NFC East? There's so much clown car stuff behind the scenes. I mean, you got Washington is a clown car.
Just
Dallas.
They are the clown car.
Dallas, I mean, they're not far behind. They're like a quarter of a lap behind Washington for leading the clown car race. Washington tries their best. And Philly over here is just like Jeffrey Lurie is an absolute amazing owner. He does nothing but class, does it the right way. Philly's the first team in professional sports to have a room for people that have autism, a sensory room so they can watch the game, but it's also a sensory room. I believe the Eagles are the first team in professional sports to do that. They have like something where I know Carson Wentz used to do it, like something for autism as well, where they go out and help people with autism and stuff like that. So like the Eagles just do it with class behind the scenes. They may not be great on the field, year in and year out, only one Super Bowl to show for it because, I mean, they're the Eagles. But at least off the field, the organization does it with
Fair
class,
enough.
unlike the city itself.
And what do you have to say about the Giants? Or nothing?
The Giants are a prestigious organization.
Okay,
They have 4
good.
Super Bowls,
I'm
man.
glad you didn't have
They had a
anything negative
couple
to say.
bad years with McAdoo and Joe Judge.
But that's because they're loyal. If they weren't loyal, they wouldn't have half the problems.
The Maras are very loyal, so
That's a
I give
problem.
them that. And I mean, they got over it, and they got a really, really good coach who I absolutely love in Brian Dable, and I think he's going to be fantastic for years to come. And they got rid of that absolute disaster of a GM. I don't even want to say his name. They got rid of him. I don't want to talk about it. Once they got rid of him, they were going to be able to heal, and they are healing.
I'm not disagreeing. But...
Look, Eric, I said nice things about the Eagles organization. Like, what do you want from me?
You just got to be careful because, I mean, Eric will come for you. He'll come at you tomorrow night, Sports Arena. I'm giving you the plug, John.
Like The Rock says, bring it.
Whatever. But yeah, no, it's just, anyway, I don't want to talk more about them. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed, but that's not the point.
Sean Taylor is one of my favorite defensive players in the history of the game. Some of my favorite players I've ever watched defensively. Absolutely love everything about his game.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But anyway, well, I'll move it to you, gentlemen. Whatever you got here. Let's move on to something else. I'm sure you guys got something ready to talk about. JB or John, what do you got for me?
Yeah, John, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much great action. I mean, what do you like? I really love what the Bengals did against Tennessee. I said it last night on the Sports Arena. What they did to Tennessee, no Jamar Chase, no Joe Mixon. You go on the road, you stuff Derrick Henry to basically nothing running the ball. You go on the road and you beat them just like you did in the playoffs. You beat them, and it wasn't pretty. Man. It wasn't pretty. You have no Jamar Chase. You have no Joe Mixon. And guess what? You still find a way to win.
I'm telling you.
Nobody's paying attention to the Bengals. We're all paying attention to the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Eagles, Vikings, the Cowboys. We're all paying attention to them. But, man, what the Bengals have done.
Oh, John.
Winning in Tennessee the way they did.
John, I don't even – JB,
I got to give love to the Bengals for just continuing to win.
John –
and
do you realize what's happening right now? Did you see what just happened behind the scenes? Because Eric is here, and
I got a monologue going on.
I don't care because if there's drama between you and Eric, I don't want to be anywhere near anything else. I just want to hear this.
You must have this much hair. You must have this much hair to interrupt me.
Wow!
So, as I was saying about the Bengals, they have just done a great job. With the Jacksonville Jaguars taking out the Ravens.
Just going to watch.
And the Bengals beating the Titans. Watch out for the Bengals in the AFC. Welcome, Eric Wilson. Sorry, I didn't quite see you there.
John, you are in trouble.
A monologue.
You are in trouble.
I love you. Love you, man.
Brother, I love you too. First off, to my brother JB, as always, man. Good evening, sir. It is a pleasure to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute. Shout out to you, my brother, for all the hard work that you do, man. And to my brother Jake, brother, I love you like no other. And please forgive my intrusion, because normally I only fill in when this clown above me ain't here because his mouth likes to run. I have to listen to him twice a week. You know, he does a great job on Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. Let me just say that. But the rest of the week,
that's because you only put me on there for 90 seconds.
That's exactly the right way to do it.
Best move ever.
John, that's the way you do it. If we limit your word count, you can't say things.
I'm on a pitch count on Thursday.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Clearly, John,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you have to know, being a member of the Eastern divisions, okay, AFC and NFC, for the longest time, our teams have been mocked. Our teams have been criticized. Our teams have been scrutinized. I was hoping that we could form a united front between the AFC and the NFC East, because this seems to be our year.
The year of the East.
You realize, you know, it's one of those things where we are finally getting the respect that we have so rightly deserved. And you still want to run your lips about the fact that, you know, you just feel like Miami's on this such a great level, and then everybody else is down here. And you are within
just talking
your
about
rights.
off the field stuff. The clown card is Washington and Dallas.
You didn't just say off the field because you made comments about how the Eagles only have one Super Bowl to show for it. So you were very deliberately commenting. It doesn't. No. I'm on Eric's side for once.
He's done a lot of great things.
John, hold on. Before anybody else says anything, I need to clear the air that you made a comment. You didn't comment about the Giants on field. You didn't comment about the Cowboys on field. You only commented about Jerry Jones for the Cowboys. You were implying
that's all.
And you threw a low blow at Eric to make fun of his Eagles on field, and they're one Super Bowl to show
on field. They're doing great on field.
You made a comment about one Super Bowl, man. That's a low blow, and you know it.
Or about what's surrounding Lincoln Financial Field, as opposed to the actual
low blow.
Okay, wow. John, as always, I'm gonna let you have your moment because some of us need to continually talk about our successes, while others just revel in the fact that we are the number one team in the entire NFL. Okay, and I'm not gonna bloviate about that because any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, things could change in an instant. But, John, here is one bold prediction that I will make for you right now on Sideline Sports Network. I am going to do what you love me to do so much, John.
Please.
I am going to tell you at the end of the regular season, I will guarantee, John, and you can book this, the Philadelphia Eagles will be first in the NFC East. You can't say the same thing about your Miami Dolphins. You are currently sitting there right now.
I'm not.
But
you guys got to go to Dallas.
No,
you have what, a
that's
two-game lead? Two-game lead, I believe, in your division or Dallas.
So they get to play. Listen to me, John, and then I'm going to leave and let y'all do your thing. Do you know who I'm more worried about? The man to your left, because I haven't seen him yet. I've played Washington twice. You split with us. Congratulations. I can't stand Dallas. It don't matter what week it is. But the team that I actually do have a little bit of apprehension about, the one team that I can sit here and say to you has surprised not only myself, but probably their fan base and everybody in the entire NFL, I still have yet to play them. And John, you do realize the consistency is very simple. They do two things: stack the defense on the fourth quarter and run Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And only two, maybe three teams have figured out how to stop the New York Football Giants. Okay.
Well, lately they haven't been doing a whole lot.
Gentlemen, Jake, JB, it has been an honor as always. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the Sideline Sports Network show tonight. Jon Shearer, we will continue this conversation tomorrow night. But gentlemen, much love to you both. I'm out. John, just remember, you're playing in the big boy pond right now. Don't have your little dolphin get ate up by my eagle.
Yeah, well,
wow. I love it. He dropped it like it was hot.
I love it.
John,
and he's not wrong.
John.
They got to make the Super Bowl first.
Eric is not here to discuss anymore, which is fine. But I'd like to make one last comment. Also, is to Eric's point, the Eagles have a 2-game lead in our division.
Yeah.
How many game lead? Hold on. Just don't say anything.
No.
I'm going to ask you a question.
What I'm saying.
Hold on. Before you talk, I'm going to ask one question, and don't give me anything else. Just answer the question. Okay. How many games of a lead do you have in your division at this moment right now?
We're winning the division right now.
That's not. I asked, what is your lead?
Oh, we're up by a game on the Jets and 2 on the Pats.
What is your lead? Because the lead for the Eagles is 2 games between them and the
game on Buffalo.
Place. Okay, so that's what I wanted to point out.
Well, technically, we're tied, but we have a tiebreaker, so half.
In our division, the Eagles have a 2-game lead. That's a pretty secure lead.
Yeah.
In your division, you have a half-game lead. That can change very quickly.
That's what I'm saying. Like Eric said, well, I guarantee that, I book it, that the Eagles are going to win it.
I would agree with that.
No, I'm saying they still got to go to Dallas, which is basically a 2-game swing. No, I know what you're saying. But if Dallas gets within a game of Philly, and Philly's looked shaky the past couple weeks, they haven't looked like Philly. Against Indy, they didn't look like Philly. Against Washington, they didn't look like Philly. Against Green Bay, that was a crazy game. Like, they could have lost that game. So they haven't quite looked
And
like
John,
the
I
team
can say the
that
same thing
started
about your Dolphins,
undefeated.
probably. If I go game by game.
I'm saying
okay,
Dallas
John,
gets within a game of you. You still got to go to Dallas.
John,
if
you
Dallas
played the
beats
Texans
you in
this
Dallas,
weekend.
That's a tie game.
John.
Wow.
So like
John, in November 6th, you played the Bears and you barely beat them. The week before that, you barely beat the Lions. You beat them by 4. You beat the Steelers by 6. Do you want to go over games like that, or do we want to just say that my point is, which is very simple, and Eric's point was, they have a 2-game lead. Their chances of keeping the lead are pretty good. You have a half-game lead with one of the best teams in the entire league behind your tail. Your chances of keeping the lead are a lot less.
Listen, I don't
Simple as
foresee the Eagles having any issue winning the division.
Unfortunately, I don't think so either.
I would love to see the Giants win the division. I don't want to see Dallas win it.
Oh, hold on.
Realistically,
JB rooted for his team?
Because they're actually playing football. I'm not trying to get the number 1 pick this year. We actually
for once, JB is on
Jake
the
and
Giants
I go over
side.
this all the time that when you talk about your Yankees, you're
true.
always devil's advocate.
No, he's not devil's advocate. He's just usually negative. He doesn't like, but he hates Garrett Cole.
I just point out the truth. I point out the truth. We were going to get to the playoffs and lose. There's nothing wrong with being accurate about your team. I know where our potential is.
And see, this is why I appreciate what JB says usually more, because unlike John, he keeps the expectations realistic. John will sit here and say, Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl. Miami Heat are winning the championship in basketball. You'll throw out anything because
I don't say things the
same. But you do.
I put a lot of factors into these.
Listen, I could have put every factor the first 80, 90 games while the Yankees were winning the World Series. I knew it wasn't going to happen.
And, John, I could have said at 162 they were going to win the World Series because Aaron Judge hit 62. No, but that's not how that works.
No, that wasn't how it was going to happen.
You know the way things are. You know they're not going to win. It just, it.
And I can tell you right now, the Giants totally outplayed my expectations this year.
Yeah.
They're way above.
I think they're going to the playoffs, and that will be the end of the conversation.
And I think the Giants
and that's more than okay.
Are 2 teams right now. If we're talking about your Giants, those are 2 teams that I feel like overachieved and are on the downtrend. Like, I feel like both of them teams are coming back down to earth. They played really well to start the season, and we're starting to see holes in their games.
The Giants have done. The Giants should have been this way for the past few years, because if you look at the Giants' schedule, they're very much like the Chargers when Phillip Rivers was there. They would lose a lot of really, really close games. So they would have a bunch of extra losses. Let's call it 4 extra losses because of, 1-score games that they lose in the last second. Those are 4 potential wins. Even if you get 2 of them, that adds 2 wins. So now the Giants go from a 4-win team maybe to a 6-win team, which is not great, but it's better. It makes a difference. This is what the Giants should have been doing for years. And I'm not saying that they're great. I'm not going to act like they are. But they're actually winning those close games. They're closing games. They're making sure that those games don't slip away.
But that's why I said they overachieved, because
it's not overachieving.
It's
underachieving previously.
They beat the teams they should have beaten.
Right. But when I look,
one team that they
like the Ravens, they shouldn't have beat the Ravens. Like, that's a game.
Hot garbage. They don't know how to hold the lead.
The Ravens have been one of the worst teams lead-wise this season.
But the Ravens are a much better team.
On paper.
No, they're not.
On paper, they are. But in terms of the way they're playing, no, because the first few quarters, they're very good. Fourth quarter, they blow the leads and the game ends. So I wouldn't say that they're significantly better. On paper, 100%, no question. The only thing I think we have over them on paper for, guaranteed is running back, by a mile. But just offensively speaking, they are much better. Defensively speaking, I would have to look, but I might probably give it to them again
they're
paper.
Really talented, yeah.
On paper, but on the field, which is why we play. JB kind of alluded to it. They don't close games. So no, I don't. It's not a fair statement to say that.
You don't think your Giants you think?
No.
You thought they would be this far into their rebuild year 1 with Dable?
No, because
they haven't beaten anybody that was good. Dallas destroyed them both times. They played their game.
That's what I'm saying about the Giants is where they're at with their record. I think that they've done better.
What you're missing, John, is in years prior. Let's take a game against the Panthers We won 19-16. This is back in September.
Yeah,
we should not have won that game.
You had a bunch of those close games, yeah.
Those are games we normally lose, though. So that's the point JB and I are making. Those are games we find ways to lose instead.
We
find a way to lose. Even the Bears.
You went for 2 or whatever, didn't you?
Right.
And it worked.
They went for 2. It set the tone for the season. It showed the coach had the team's back.
John, I'll take
and they're playing like it.
The game against the Bears when we won 20-12. Why did we win? Because we closed the game out. We do things we don't normally do. JB and I can tell you this all night long. It's not overachieving. Our team is not great on paper, but every year we have a bunch of close games. We find ways to lose, so our expectations become lower and expect us to do that. We're just actually closing games this year. So now it's like, oh, we're not completely terrible because we're actually learning to close games. That's what a good coach does.
But that's what I'm saying. Like for me, when I look,
the Giants could have 7 wins in the past few seasons. Probably.
For me, when I looked at you guys, I didn't expect Daniel Jones to play as well as he has. He's played a lot better than we all thought. Kind of like, okay, this is probably Daniel Jones last year. They're going to go and look for a quarterback next year.
But because we normally expect the Giants to implode, this is what they didn't.
They didn't draft Daniel Jones. Gettleman did. The line, I'm sure you guys probably agree. We all thought the line still would be bad this year. It's been a lot better. It's been a lot better than I expect. I thought it was going to be horrific, but it's been much improved.
Right. But ultimately,
Barkley, I didn't expect him to stay healthy. So, like, all these things with you guys, but Dable, I thought Dable would just be fantastic for you guys. I love the hire right off the bat. But I didn't expect, like, it to come to fruition. Yeah, I thought maybe, next year.
That's where you and I are different.
I thought maybe next year you would start to see fruits of the labor with you guys.
I told you, and I will say this again before we move on. I said this on week 1, right after week 1 on on Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. I said, after our first win against the Titans, the Giants were going to the playoffs this season. And the only reason I was confident enough to say that was because we could close a close game. That is the same point I'm going to continue to make.
That's a mark of
a good same point I've been making since after week 1, though. And that's why the expectations were lower. Because normally games that we should win, we don't because we don't close it out. We get out to a lead, and then we lose it in the fourth quarter. This year, we're doing the opposite. So I don't think we're exceeding expectations. We're doing what we should have been doing the last few years and just weren't doing because we now have a good coach. I think that's why we're doing it. And I think JB would probably agree with what I just said. That's a pretty good summation of what's happening.
Without a doubt. I mean, they are just doing what needs to be done. The little things. That's what makes you win football games.
They're not better than last year.
That's the mark of a good coach.
Why did they lose the game in Seattle? Little things. They couldn't handle a punt. 2 turnovers on punt returns. 2 bad punt turnovers. That was the difference in the game. You know, and
that killed us.
Detroit came in as a buzzsaw. They're a different team right now. It sucks.
They're a good team offensively.
I think that was a bad matchup for you guys too.
Yeah, it sucks to lose that game. Look, on paper before the start of the year, that's a win.
During the season, it was a win. Well, we talked about that week.
Unfortunately, that week, it's not a win.
Yeah,
so
it happens.
It's the way it works. But, we picked up the game against the Ravens before the season. That's not a win.
Nope.
The Packers, that's not a win. The Packers are garbage this year.
Titans.
Exactly.
The Titans are a really good team. They just weren't ready.
They weren't ready.
The season
right,
started.
right.
That's how, because, you look, they lost the first couple of games and they wanted a nice winning streak before they went to Kansas City.
Yeah, they started 0-2.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see. A lot of time, it depends on where you get a team in the schedule, what they're doing. If we had Detroit the first couple of weeks of the year, we probably beat them.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But when we had them, was just a bad time.
It was when they're hot. It happens. But anyway, I think that's all I have left on that.
Yeah. By the way, do you think would you give Dable Coach of the Year?
I would consider it. Yeah.
The only person in my mind right now, I kind of want to give it to Pete Carroll.
I could give him that.
He's doing it with Geno
agree.
Smith.
Yeah,
with Geno Smith, no offensive line. Rookie running back right now. The defense that's not so great. Then you saw that what happened with the Raiders. There's no way Jacob should have got that run.
No.
So I think Pete Carroll's done a hell of a job. He showed how good of a coach he is.
Yep.
I still don't understand how the Raiders coach has his job, McDaniel, or the guy in Denver. That division, it's okay to be bad because you keep your job.
Yeah.
It's just because the bar that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid set is so high that everybody's like, you know what? Like, it's expected for us to suck because we have to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, so our bar is really low.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because Friday's already coaching, Saturday's coaching already. So, there's no other great offensive lineman on ESPN that they could think of. I don't know. It's just pretty sad. I just look at that and I'm in shock that those two guys have kept their job. And I think if they had lost in Seattle, it would have been time to make a change in Oakland. And in Denver, I just don't get it. I really don't.
You want to talk about them because they're in trouble. They are in the deepest trouble I have seen probably in the last 20, 25 years, maybe more. They are in so much trouble with this contract. Like, think about what they did. They traded away multiple firsts to get Russell Wilson. So now they're out on picks in that regard. And his salary cap hit goes up for the next few years. They are so stuck with him. You can't
I have a
do
question,
anything.
though. The decline that he has had.
Oh, my God.
Do you think that,
I've never seen this
before.
before.
Do you think there's an undisclosed injury that he's just
No.
not saying?
No.
You think it's just his play?
There's no way, because they've told us about him having injury already. Like, there's no way that's the excuse. Because if that was the excuse, they would have sat him. There's no way.
I think Hackett is so bad as a head coach. Like, he is so lost. I think that's factored in. I think Russ, I think he's definitely lost a step. Because it's crazy, JB, how he fell off a cliff. Like, last year he was injured, and everybody was like, okay, he didn't look good before the injury, but he got hurt with the club finger, and everybody's like, okay, he's banged up. He came back not 100%. Everybody's like, oh, he was not 100%. Give him the benefit of the doubt. This year, he just fell off a cliff, like absolutely just
in trouble.
It's almost like Peyton Manning. How he was unbelievable, then all of a sudden he could throw a ball.
Yeah.
But the difference was Peyton Manning was a lot older.
And he had fusion neck surgery, so eventually you're gonna fall apart after that.
And guys, I'd just like to point out, this is how much trouble they're in, because here's the dead cap numbers that they would have if they were to cut him somehow for each year. So next year, before 2023, their dead cap, if for whatever reason they did cut him, which I don't think they would after just 1 year. Like, I can't foresee that.
Give us the
numbers. Do you want to take a wild guess at how much this number is?
I know how much the first one is.
How much is it?
It's over 100 million.
For 22 or 23?
I believe that's next year. It's over 100 million if they got
rid
of him.
So this year it would have been 124 million. Next year you would be correct. It would be $107 million in dead cap. Hold on, it's not going to get better though, because in 24 it's still $85 million to cut him, and then in 25, where they're still stuck with him now, it is $49.5 million to cut him in dead cap space. By 26, where there's a buyout, they could potentially buy him out. They would have $31 million in dead cap. If they didn't do that, if they don't do that, they would be like, if they cut him, it's the same price. But if they don't, they'd still be on the hook for 2 more years after 27 and 28. They are in the deepest hole I've ever seen. Possibly, this is just, what do you do?
I mean, JB,
it's ridiculous.
I have to ask you a question. Yeah. If Russell Wilson looks like this right now, and they're stuck with him, if he decides to play to 2027,
I think he will. I think he will spike them.
I just want to know, JB,
I don't think he's going to leave.
What is Russell Wilson going to look like next year? What's he going to look like in 4 years if he looks like this right now? What is this man going to look like?
maybe he didn't think he was going to get traded. He didn't do any off-season work. I don't know, but this is just the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, it's bad. I don't get it.
John, I'm going to get a picture for you because this is what I think Russell Wilson, and I'm not making I'm not even trying to be I am trying to be funny a little bit. I'm gonna pretend like I'm not. I have to ask though, before I do anything.
Hold on, I got one. I got an idea what Russell Wilson's going to look like. You go first, and then I will.
Okay. John, have you seen SpongeBob? Have both of you seen SpongeBob?
You SOB. You're going to steal what I was going to.
Of course I am. Have you both seen SpongeBob, right? So,
yes,
so this is one of my favorite episodes of all time.
Yes.
I'm saying without a doubt, I would say we're in 22. I say by 26, this is what Russell Wilson's going to look like. And John, I may have stolen this from you because I was thinking about it before you probably.
Man, I love our team so much.
This is what he's going to look like. He is going to be pulled out on a wheelchair. He is going to be a literal just corpse at that point. Wow. He is going to be worse than Peyton Manning when we saw him. Because at least Peyton Manning could get himself out on the field. I'm telling you, he is going to be forced out onto the field on a wheelchair. And at that point, I don't know what you do.
If JT can do me a favor and create a little speech bubble right beside that says Broncos country, let's ride, beside that character, that would be fantastic.
Wow. You're killing me.
I mean, this is – I have to ask both of you, and I'm serious. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Russell Wilson could, by some magic that we don't understand, return to form. But at the very moment we're sitting at, right now, does this look like, or does it seem like it's going to be the worst contract in all of sports history, like ever?
So is this trade worse than the Herschel Walker trade?
Yes. Because Herschel Walker at least did things. He wasn't complete garbage.
If it wasn't for the Herschel Walker trade, we wouldn't have had the Troy Aikman Cowboys. So let's think about that.
But you know what? But again, but Herschel Walker, when you just analyze what happened in that trade, just the Herschel Walker side of things, forget Aikman. Herschel Walker was not at least garbage. He was like, he wasn't worth what was given up by any means, but he was at least good. Like he was worth something. Russell Wilson is worth nothing. I don't know if you realize this. If the Broncos were to score 20 plus points per game, they're at like 14 points per game. If they had like 20 plus points, I'm fairly certain. I have to find out where I found this. I have to find it again. I'm pretty sure if they had an average of that, they'd be a positive record. They would be above 500.
They'd be like 10-2 or something.
That is how bad they have been.
Yeah, it's awful. It really is.
Did you see, Jake?
That's why I say this might be the worst.
Because it's not even just the cap stuff. No, but did you see what happened with him and the defensive lineman for?
Of course.
Did you see what happened? Did you see that, JB?
No, with them fighting.
Yeah. Like he basically was like doing his corny stuff, something to that extent, and the defensive line basically told him, I'm paraphrasing, like, dude, this isn't funny.
This is not a joke.
Like, this isn't a joke, man.
So real quick,
we're bad. What are you doing? Goofing off on the sideline like
Broncos are 3-8.
Country, let's ride type stuff.
The Broncos are 3-8. I went through. There are games where they scored under 20 points, and the other team, both teams scored under 20. If the Broncos scored 20 plus points in every single game this season, they would have 5 additional wins. So instead of 3-8, they would be 8-3. And one of the best teams in the entire league, just record-wise. They are so offensively inept. They have the best defense in the league, statistically speaking, and the worst offense. This is this has got to be the most infuriating team for people to watch. I don't care about them. I'm enjoying this ride. So Russell Wilson, I say to you, sir, Broncos country, let's ride. I'm enjoying this. Okay, this has been phenomenal. I am loving watching you every week, and this is like the 4th week in a row I'm going to say this. I am loving you watch. I'm watching, and I'm loving seeing you ride off and taking Broncos country. Let's ride into the glue factory. It is great. I continue to say this week in, week out. It is so enjoyable. I am loving every second of this because to me it's just hilarious how bad your offense is. But Russell Wilson, I don't know what has happened. I don't know what voodoo magic Tom Brady uses to be so good. But you might want to text him and get some of it because you suck. I think, honestly, JB, John, and myself could be better than him right now. He is terrible.
Wow, he said suck.
He's terrible. Oh,
tell
me I'm wrong.
Historically bad. What he's doing.
This is so pathetically bad. It's not even funny.
You don't go, JB.
Scary.
You don't go from being what, at least like before last year, before all the injuries and whatnot. I'm sure we all probably agree.
Top 10.
If you retired 2 years ago, before last year, if he retired, we would all probably have agreed he's going to the Hall of Fame one.
And I would say on an average year, he probably placed himself in or right outside of the top 10 in quarterbacks.
Right. Like if he retired,
he was a very good quarterback every single year. He was.
But he'd be Hall. But like, how do you go from that to absolute? It's not because of injury. Again, it's not Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is nothing
like
was
that.
Deterioration over time. Peyton Manning started out really good.
He just went from we all thought Hall of Famer to absolute garbage.
You know what he went
in
from?
A blink of an eye.
John, he went from, I would say, an average Hall of Famer, probably, maybe a slightly above average.
Yeah,
Hall
he's
of Famer,
going to the Hall
of
Fame.
Hall of Famer to Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, and
to Zach Wilson.
Not only
to that level of ineptitude, it is astronomically bad because when Zach Wilson, Jamarcus Russell, I'm just picking two guys that we compared last week. When those guys did it, okay, but they weren't good to begin with. Like, it's not like they came out and lit the world on fire and then they sucked. Russell Wilson was very good and Hall of Fame worthy for many seasons in a row and has just gone from, he was all the way up here on the cliff.
I have a question. Are we going to give the media some credit? Because isn't he the guy that never got any MVP votes?
Yeah, I mean,
year after year. So maybe the media knew something.
I would love to know what other media people knew that we didn't, because I'm not saying I thought he was great, but I thought he was a good quarterback every year, and I certainly did not see this.
I finally had a chance to give props to the media. Let's just give him props and move on. It doesn't happen very often.
It's just unbelievable.
So how do you go from your Broncos or your Seahawks? Geno Smith takes over and he does a better job than what you did last year with basically the same team.
Things are better.
It's basically the same team, and Geno Smith's playing really well in that offense, and it's basically the same offense. And Geno Smith's outplaying what you did last year.
He's outplaying him this season too by a lot.
And you go to the Broncos with there's a lot of talent. Like let's be honest, the Broncos have an extremely high amount of talent on that offense.
Absolutely.
And he cannot hit the broadside of a barn. It is one of the most baffling things I've ever witnessed. I don't understand how he's so bad. And you can't just say coaching.
It's not coaching. This is absolutely nothing to do with Nathaniel Hackett. Not that I like him. Not that I think Nathaniel Hackett's good right now. This has nothing to do with Nathaniel Hackett. This is just this is just awful.
It's horrible.
This is just
horrible.
This has got to be one of the worst statistical seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback.
From a quarterback of his stature.
Just any quarterback at that point. It's awful.
Listen, he's making Nathan Peterman look good.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out for Tyler Lockett, this has been great. Tyler Lockett's off to an awesome start to the season so far. He's got 708 yards. His career high is 1,100. According to ESPN, just based on, I guess, his average yards per game, he's currently projected 1,094, which would put him pretty close to his career high. Tyler Lockett also he's got a bunch of touchdowns already. He's got 6 on the season. His career high was 10 twice. Tyler Lockett seems to be like, yeah, this is pretty good. Things are going well. Like, I am enjoying myself. And I say that because I didn't see this coming. I thought guys like him and DK Metcalf would fall off a bridge because Geno Smith wasn't going to do anything. And here we are, and we're talking about how Russell Wilson sucks and Geno Smith is actually good.
Maybe Russ was just never that good. Maybe we overrated him, and maybe that Legion of Boom defense.
Oh, I knew they carried, but
the defense. Maybe we know the defense was big for that, but
Maybe that's the reason, like, that he looked in his career as good as he did. And I mean, he still has an elite defense. That's the thing. It doesn't make sense.
That's
you
the
have
problem.
Another elite defense.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know. I don't get it. I can't explain it, man. I cannot
All
explain
I'm going to say is it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
We
doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How is Marquette up 25 points against number 6 Baylor?
Like, we don't have time to talk about this.
I'm
going to leave
it.
I am going to leave it at this, and then we got to wrap things up. And I'll start with John. This season, if it proves nothing else to anybody other than myself, but I think this proves this completely for sure. This season, we are living in the twilight zone because Russell Wilson went from a great quarterback to one of the worst, and Geno Smith went from a career backup to one of the better quarterbacks in this league. I don't get it. I don't try to understand it. We're living in the twilight zone. And on that note, John, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, Sideline Sports. Check out all the Sideline Sports. Sideline Sport 1. Check out our TikTok. Check out our Instagram. Check out all of our great pages.
Spot, John.
We have so many things happening. Check out our shorts, our YouTube shorts.
We really are living in the twilight zone now.
I love our YouTube shorts.
John is stealing my spot. John is stealing my spot. That's just really proof that we're living in a bizarro world or a twilight zone, something to that effect. And I can't explain it, but whatever. JB, all you.
All right, well, I'm going to just point out Marquette at the half up 26 points over number 6 Baylor. JB _ the program, Big East baby. Tuesday nights here 8:30. Wednesday, J&J Sports Express at 7. South Florida Sports Exchange 9-ish. And every other week, both sides of the coin. And who knows where else I'll be popping up. But Jake, finish us off.
JB, you're everywhere, man. You know that. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. And then as you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, it's all the places John already mentioned because he stole my spot. How dare you? Sorry, not sorry. John did forget to mention DBTV. He also didn't mention, I don't believe, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are everywhere, as we mentioned. And on that note, everybody have a good one. We'll see you next time.